So I said, whatever it is, love, see a doctor.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Thomas Podcast. Oh my God. We're here. I'm joined by John again, and I'm here with Owen, who's got some form of liquid with him. Um,
Yes, and if you can hear that in the background, Edie's currently running around the room. She's got the zoomies at the moment.
that's all right. I don't. We can't. Yeah, nothing's coming through, mate. You're all right.
Yeah,
Uh,
we're properly time traveling today because we got Owen here for his haircut from the 1950s, and Alex is here from the 1930s, and
oh my God.
it's just me.
Yeah. I mean, Owen's got the kind of David Tennant vibe from this episode actually kind of going on because it kind of does droop a bit down at the front in especially at the beginning of Soul on Earth. It does. It's quite frizzy, but it does
I'd
drop
see a
down.
doctor about that.
And I've
Owen.
kind of got sideburns. I trimmed them down a bit.
Yeah, but the Tennant sideburns are ridiculous anyway. They don't look that great. They're just kind of funny.
Mm.
Speaking of David Tennant, though, we are here reviewing the Soul on Earth Journey's End this week. And if you're wondering, wasn't it a Christmas episode? Yes, but the last time we filmed was in November, and it's now July, so we're not doing a Christmas episode
So did this
yet.
come up on the wheel?
No, I chose this
No, no,
because
no.
I chose this. I chose that.
And it happens to be 15 years old.
Alex has handpicked this episode because it's relevant to the 60th anniversary coming up, and it's quite
And
appropriate that we're recording it today because we are actually recording it on the 15th anniversary of Journey's End.
Didn't
yeah,
have a clue that we were doing that. By the way, when we put our plan this, I just looked on Twitter today and went, "Oh, that's kind of funny, isn't it?" But yes, it is the 15th anniversary of Journey's End. I picked this as well because I have an interesting opinion on some bits of it. I think it could be a fun podcast. I think it's majoritively well liked. I'm in the middle on it, so we can certainly get into it. I think one episode is fantastic and one of them is awful. So we can get into that. I think this is going to be a fun time of discussion. But yeah, we're doing Son of Fears, and there's no real news to talk about because if you didn't see it, me and John did a video on that literally days ago, and nothing's come out since. So there's kind of no reason to hash over news, old things. But I will quickly ask because Owen's not been on the show since we did Twin Dilemma. Owen, 60th, excited? Yes or no? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
absolutely I am.
Thank you very much, Owen. Anyway, moving on to the review. I would get John to do a breakdown of this, but once again, this is a two-parter and it'll take him absolutely ages. So we're just going to assume that you've seen Journey's End. If you haven't, watch it. Go now. It's on iPlayer if you're in the UK, and if you're not in the UK, I think it's on Max. I think it's called now. So, or you can VPN it, but you didn't hear that from us. But yes, and so let's just jump into it, lads. Obviously, series 4 finale, but also the RTD finale, if you like. It kind of involves all three of his shows that are in sync at once. From the Sarah Jane clan, we get Sarah Jane, Luke, and Mr. Smith. From Torchwood, we get the three remaining Torchwood characters. And my brain always thinks that this is after series
We'll
1, but
also
it's
get
not.
K9.
It's after series 2. Oh yeah, we do get K9 in this as well. For his, then he disappears again for a bit in Sarah Jane. Doesn't come back to I think series 3 or 4. I think it's 3, but I could be wrong. But yeah, I always think this takes place after series 1 of Torchwood, but it doesn't. So Tosh
Yeah,
and Owen are
it's pretty much
gone.
sandwiched. It's pretty much sandwiched between series 2 and Children of Earth.
Yeah, because there's a little hint at the end which never comes to pass due to filming conflicts. But we can talk about that later on. But yeah, this involves all our characters from the Ruston era, really. You even get some throwbacks as well. But yeah, overall thoughts. Well, let's talk about Stolen Earth first. I think this episode is absolutely stellar. I think this might be some of the best Who Russell's ever written in a succinct 45 minutes, which involves all his characters with perfect balance and nobody feels out of place, and I think it's really good. And I think the build up to Davros as well is especially brilliant. And that music of the dun 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 dun, dun always sticks in my head consistently, and I associate with this episode. What are your guys' thoughts? I'll go to Owen first because he's not been on the show in a while. Owen, you gonna speak?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm with you. I'm with you.
I just hello. Oh, I might be freezing.
Are you gonna give us an opinion on Stolen Earth, or are you just gonna smile?
So Stolen Earth and Journey's End.
Just stolen Earth. Just stolen Earth for now.
Oh, just Stolen Earth.
Yeah, we're just talking. We're gonna do it, and it's kind of
Oh,
one
God.
long episode. He's been watching the
Okay.
episode and not listening to what I've said. That's what's happened.
I
Turn
mean-
your telly down, put the subtitles on, and listen to what we're actually talking to you about, boy.
Well, with both episodes anyway, was the only stories that I watched with my mum. My mum sat with me watching Doctor Who throughout the whole thing. She did watch half of Voyage of the Damned with me because Kylie Minogue's in it. But then she kind of got bored halfway through and she said, "Oh, tell me what happens at the end." She hadn't watched Doctor Who since the 70s. So because obviously Davros is in it, Sarah Jane's in it, those are two characters that she remembers from that era. And she was like, "Oh, all right, I'll watch it with you." And she watched it through to the end, which surprised me. And she actually really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's my favorite sort of series finale of all the new series. I mean, series 4 is my favorite anyway. Um, yeah, and there's like so much going on. There's so many returning characters that have come back. All very well, mostly well-loved characters. Yeah, and also some returning villains as well, because obviously you got the Jadoon,
Yeah.
obviously the Daleks, and Davros. And I love a Davros story. So yeah, whenever Davros is coming back, that's it. I'm hooked. I'm all for it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I've realised the last two modern reviews we've done as well, and this again it is coincidental. The last one we did was on Davros as well, because that was his other appearance in the new series. So we've done both Davros stories in the wrong order, back to back. But yeah, John, what do you think about Stolen Earth? I mean, obviously, I know you've got big opinions on this one. I saw on your Twitter timeline today, so I know that there might be some more interesting conversation to come up later. But Stolen Earth, you're a fan, right?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So yes, that was fantastic. It's an absolutely brilliant setup. Russell ties all of these things brilliantly together. He actually creates a lovely little mystery. When I was rewatching it yesterday, the pre-credits, it's one of the best pre-credit sequences we get.
Yeah.
That whole thing with the milk float at the start, and it's like, what's going on? And the way it kind of like builds up to there's something going on in the sky, and you don't see what it is, and then you just get Rose come along. It's just like, it's interesting now, and it's like, yeah, it's superb. It feels like an anniversary special. They do that thing where after the credits they put up a few more actors' names on the screen, so it feels like a sort of event TV, and I think it lives up to that. They're tying together Torchwood, they're tying together the Sarah Jane Adventures, and for me, there's a few little moments in there in this episode that are up there with like the best of Doctor Who, up there with the absolute best of Doctor Who. When Sarah Jane hears the Dalek for the first time, the look on Liz Sladen's face, it's just one of those things where it's like, how do actors actually do that? Because it's this thing that she's not encountered for like 30 odd years, and suddenly it's there, and just the terror and fear in her face, it's wonderful. To observe the way that she gets that across. Bernard Cribbins is of course fantastic in this, as he always is. He's wonderful as Wilfred, and I also think this is probably, for me, this is probably Tennant's best performance, because you kind of, when he realizes that Davros is still alive, you get that whole thing come across of, well, what was the point? What did everybody die for? What was the Time War for? If you're still here, if you're still bringing back the Daleks. It's a wonderful setup. I mean, I won't go into detail for legal reasons, but there are a couple of people in this who maybe we don't want to be seeing on our screens anymore, which is a shame. it made it a slightly difficult watch yesterday with one person in particular that showed up, but yeah, it's just wonderful. It's a brilliant setup. It's probably the best part one of a finale that we've had.
Yes,
I think.
agreed. I want to go on a point that you mentioned there, John, which is that the Earth's companion's reaction to the Dalek transmission is one of the best scenes in the two-parter, because not only do you have Sarah Jane's fantastic reaction, but Jack
You've got Martha, you've got Jack.
Yeah, and Jack is quite a cocky character. It's very weird to see him vulnerable. Yeah, I know, bad use of, but you know what I mean. It's very rare that you see him vulnerable because obviously he's basically immortal. Yes. But that scene where he's literally just cuddling his tortured team and going, "There's nothing we can do. We're fucked."
Yeah.
What I noticed is that Rose was like already prepared for it. Like she's there, bang, she blows up a Dalek, as soon as they appear on Earth.
But that's because Rose knows what's happening.
She's from the other universe.
Rose has come across from the parallel from the parallel world. She knows exactly what's happening.
This
isn't the same Rose that we had in like series 1. This is a Rose that's fought across the dimensions in order to try to find the Doctor to get a warning out.
Yeah, I think it's great as well. How we get I think every character gets introduced perfectly in this story. I don't think there's any spare parts in this. I think everyone that's there is there for a reason.
Shout out to Penelope Wilton as well, actually.
Yes,
as Harriet Jones, because this is obviously the Harriet Jones redemption arc that we get here, and although it's a brief appearance, it's great to see her pop up, and the line. Oh, what's the exact line that she says to the Dalek? She says something to them, and it's like, yeah, it's a wonderful piece of dialogue, but I can't remember what the hell it is.
Yeah, have we seen her since Christmas Invasion yet? Is it always her first appearance since?
We've not seen her since Christmas Invasion.
Isn't it basically you don't know
you don't know humans or something like that?
Yeah. And that's basically your downfall.
Yeah. It's something like that. It's so simple, but it's so effective.
Yeah, and I have to admit, even though it's done a few times, I do love the Harriet Jones, former Prime Minister. Yes, we know who you are. Because the thing is, the Daleks can be quite funny just by the nature of the voice. So to get a little joke in there is all right.
I love the bit with Sylvia and Wilf, where Wilf turns around and goes, "I voted for her." She's like, "No, you didn't."
Yeah. She won't let me get webcams. She thinks they're naughty.
She thinks you're naughty.
And the whole thing
won't let me have one. Says they're naughty.
Yeah.
And Wilf being brilliant with his paintball gun, firing a Dalek's eye stalk. Yeah, you got a Dalek in the right place, but it just seems like they're, prepared for paint.
Yeah. There will never be a more defiant moment than the Dalek going, "You will come with us." Will I?
Yeah.
And then he just goes, "My vision is not impaired." It's like the oh shit face. But then Rose is there to save the day, and it's a really cool moment. Again, Russell does a really good job here of writing the Daleks viciously. Like, not they always have come across as quite villainous and dark. Obviously, in the last appearance, the evolution of the Daleks, they were roaming around with pig slaves. There was a bit of goofiness with the human Dalek hybrid. This really brings them back to their very nature in every sense of the word, and I think it's really, really strong.
I think a lot of that's also about the human reactions. They're supposed to be terrifying, they're supposed to be scary, and that really comes across here because, like, everybody, including the Doctor, is absolutely terrified.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. I think everything in this episode builds up wonderfully. I mean, even towards the end, where you got them all on, the subwave network, and the Doctor's reaction to seeing all his friends again, everyone but Rose. And obviously that builds to the great ending scene, where the Doctor gets shot. One of my earliest memories of Doctor Who as well.
Before that, you do get the reuniting with Rose.
Very, very briefly.
It might be very briefly, but it's important.
And the Dalek
it's what the last 2 years of Doctor Who have been building up to. It's important.
And then the Dalek saves the story because he shoots David Tennant and he gets rid of the stupid Tennant Rose romance. And finally, the story can continue, but very briefly. And they
Do you want to
get
go on fucking mute? Do you want to go on fucking mute?
no. Yeah, this is where we're going to start complaining. Then the Doctor goes in the TARDIS. He's going to regenerate. Oh no, to be continued. He doesn't fucking regenerate. But there is some.
Okay,
There
you
is some.
say he doesn't regenerate, but as a cliffhanger,
No, it's great. It's great.
as a cliffhanger, that is brilliant because obviously you
No.
don't know that he doesn't regenerate.
I know. I'm not having to go at the
As
cliffhanger. The
a
cliffhanger's fine.
cliffhanger, I mean, I do remember at the time going, they're quite prominently showing that arm in the glass jar in the TARDIS,
Yeah.
and that's going to have something to do with it.
Yeah. So it's like, how's he going to get out of this one?
It's you don't obviously when you see it for the first time, you don't know what the resolution is going to be, and as a cliffhanger, it is wonderful.
It's one of the best ones.
It's
one of the best.
Legitimately, like, you came out of it like, shit, is he going to regenerate? What's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really good. It's one of the best. It's one of the best cliffhangers, and it's one of the best cliffhanger resolutions as well. Jack pops down, he shoots the Dalek, gets them all in the TARDIS. Doctor's going to regenerate. I love that Catherine takes acting in that scene as well, because obviously Donna hasn't found out about regeneration, so she's just baffled, and nobody's really telling her anything. And she's like, "Well, what the shit is this?"
A great bit of acting with Catherine Tate, where they're obviously stuck in space when the Earth has been moved, and she's genuinely terrified because the Doctor doesn't know what to do. She's like, "But you always know what to do." What and it's just a fantastic piece of acting. I love it.
Yeah, and that kind of leads us on to Journey's End, I suppose. I think we've kind of spoke about everything we can without going on to talking about future events. Journey's End instantly just follows on, basically. There's no real extra build-up we need to give to this one. Everyone's sort of in their positions. Oh, I suppose we can briefly mention that Martha's had to disappear and go use this thing called the Osterhagen key. And Jack's
gone to Germany and met German-speaking Daleks.
Yeah, Jack's very wary of what this weapon could potentially do and whether it should be used. And also, Sarah Jane is about to be exterminated. But in part two, it's fine because Jackie and Mickey save Sarah Jane. Say Martha goes to Germany, and the Doctor doesn't regenerate. And now we're going to move on to Journey's End, which is a story.
Jackie and Mickey.
Yep.
At any point during this episode, does Mickey say, "Hello, Jackie, love"?
No. No. Yeah, we get to Journey's End, which is one of the most frustrating hours of Doctor Who because it starts so promisingly, falls on its face for about 10 minutes, and then comes back to being good again. It's so frustrating. And I love almost every part of it. Do you want me just to rip the band-aid of what a problem I really have with this episode? Because it's a big one. I cannot get past, and I'm sorry, and you guys can defend it all you like. I get it's a control. I don't get why the Daleks have a thing on their own ship that can make them spin around and electrocute them, and I can't buy it. I just can't buy it. It's dumb. I'm sorry, it just is dumb. There are also some really ham-fisted emotional moments where Davros is like, "Look at all these people you killed, Doctor," and it shows a really, really downbeat, 20-second montage of all the deaths. That's really silly. Some of the comedy in this one feels a bit off with the meta-crisis Doctor and Donna. There are just a few things that anger me. I don't like the Rose final bit. I think that's one of the worst endings to a character.
John, can you mute him at any point?
This is point of a podcast, point of review. We're allowed to debate, and people come back at me. I think the ending for the meta-crisis Doctor is dumb. And then it has a really strong last 5 minutes, but there is a good 15.
I would come back at you, but all that I've heard for the last 30 seconds there is.
I would also say as well, this is less of a criticism, but I think this one uses less. It doesn't use its characters as well as it did in the first part. I think there are more characters here, and it struggles to give them someone.
Right, okay. Some of that is valid. Not all of it, but some of that is valid.
Oh, everything's valid on this
in,
podcast.
in terms of the little device switch on the Dalek ship, how many times across the history of the Daleks have they turned on Davros?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
If
fine.
you were if you were Davros, right, and you were designing a Dalek ship, given how many times the Daleks have turned on you, of course you're going to introduce a fucking failsafe that's going to fuck up the Daleks.
Yeah.
I know. I still think it's dumb. I still think it's
You
dumb.
might think it's dumb, but there's a reason it's there.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't think it's a good conclusion.
And not only that, the Dr. Donna's basically just hacked it.
As for the Dr. Donna stuff, it's just Catherine Tate and David Tennant bouncing off each other, and they're fantastic. If you've got that chemistry, why wouldn't you do it?
Exactly.
Feels like a bit of MCU humor that feels out of place. It feels a bit Ant-Man to me when there shouldn't be any humor, and there is. Personally,
Even though it's
I
well before Ant-Man.
So hang on. What you're saying is you don't like the humor. You don't like you don't like the emotional bits where Davros is talking about all the people that have gone.
It's the execution of.
So you're essentially saying it's too funny and it's too dark.
No, I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there are some very funny bits that work in here, especially a lot of the character interactions. But David and Donna just saying 100 words in 2 seconds, like going "ha" is not very funny. It's just annoying. Second of all, the swaying music with David Tennant just looking like this into the camera isn't emotional. Anything, the montage comes across as sort of just plain and, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, that character. That's all it comes across as to me. There's no like emotional bit. All the characters are dumb because they all just, instead of doing what they're meant to, they talk to Davros for 30 seconds, giving the Daleks time for them to get them on the ship. Makes no sense to me. Also, there's this really weird scene where our protagonists leave everyone to die and they just watch it. That's a bit weird. I don't want Jackie to die, but I just think it's a bit weird that she goes, "All right, love, I've got this button thing I can use. You're going to die in 10 seconds. Bye." That doesn't work well to me. Everyone's got a sort of end weapon death thingy. It all comes across a bit, yeah. And there are some great moments in the first 25 minutes, 30 minutes, but then as soon as you get everyone on the ship, characters start struggling to have purpose. I think a little bit, which is a shame.
Yeah, disagree.
Which is fair.
I think that some of the best moments of the episode are actually when they're all on the ship together. The whole thing where they're taking a side of the console each, and he's like, "No, Jackie, not you."
No, that bit's good. That bit's all right. When they get in the TARDIS, it's fine. When they start flying Earth home, that's fucking brilliant.
It's like when your nan's basically useless at technology. She wants to be involved and wants to try and learn how to use it. So no, just don't even go there.
Reece Jenkins has just started listening.
Yeah, but literally, it's the only. Yeah, I mean, don't like to use her as a criticism because I love the character, but Jackie doesn't need to be in most of this episode. That's one of the characters that kind of doesn't really do much. And I hate to say it because I think Camille's brilliant, but she's sort of just, and like you say, there's a joke where she does bugger all, but she literally.
You do realise that a lot of these criticisms are things that you can level at literally any anniversary special.
Yeah, of course.
Which is effectively what we're talking about here.
Yeah, of course. But I would also level it at those specials as well.
I mean, it's strange because you kind of didn't.
Which one?
The last one that we did.
Which we haven't done any other anniversary. Have we done the other anniversary reviews? I don't think we have.
Literally the last Doctor Who review we did.
What, the Twin Dilemma?
Well, no, we recorded that.
Oh, that was the last one we recorded back in November.
Okay, so the last one that we did in terms of chronological episodes.
Oh, you're talking about the Power of the Doctor.
10 out of 10, I think it's perfect. Power of the Doctor.
Yeah, because it uses its characters much better. 100% uses its characters much better. It's the only story that gives Kate Stewart something to do.
I think you're looking at... No, she doesn't have anything to do. I think you're looking at this...
I think you are...
I think you are not making the allowances for this that you have made for that particular episode.
No, because also I think the actions of some characters in this are stupider. I mean, look, I'm not going to forgive Graham being in a fucking volcano. That's dumb anyway.
I was gonna say,
second-
I was just gonna say,
No, I ain't forgiving that.
randomly turning up in a fucking.
No, I ain't forgiving that. That's bollocks. But like it's just for me. It's one of those things where it's not. It doesn't ruin the episode. I like we were talking earlier on when we talked about Soul and Earth. I think that uses its characters so perfectly, and in this they all just sort of become the same character. Like everyone had like a definitive role in the first episode, and in this you've just got everyone doing the same shit. You've got Martha going, "I've got a thing that's going to blow up the entire planet," but Jack's got a thing because of Sarah Jane that can blow up the ship. What are they going to do? And they both get captured. Then you get so many fake out deaths in this as well, which I get. It's kind of.
I mean, not everybody does the same thing. Rose doesn't do the same thing. Donna doesn't do the same thing.
No, Donna's brilliant in this. Donna's brilliant.
Tennant doesn't do the same thing. I would argue that Sarah Jane doesn't do the same thing.
Sarah Jane's fine.
Essentially, what you're saying is that Jackie and Mickey do nothing, and that Martha and Jack could essentially be one character.
Yeah.
That's absolutely nowhere near saying everybody does the same thing, and there's kind of pointless because it's literally half of it's literally half of the people. It's not all of them.
So, I mean, maybe it's hyperbole, but I just think this uses, and also I think Yanto, Luke, they're integrated in the first episode quite well.
You're starting on the gaze now.
No, fuck off. All of the characters for the other, this first part felt like an expansive universe thing. The second part kind of is a bit more contained, which is fine, but then you have to loop them back at the end of the story, and I just don't think it's needed. I understand that maybe you want to find out that they're alive, but you'd assume that by saving the day they were alive anyway. But at that point, I'm nitpicking holes in it. I think Julian Bleach is fantastic in it, though. I'd say that he's fantastic in Soul now. But
I'm glad they brought him back with the 12th Doctor.
I kind of hope they bring him back again,
And hopefully, a certain showrunner. Hello, Russell, if you're watching. That he may make a return.
What up,
one can hope.
Yeah. But I mean, I'll do it. I'll be down for us. Why not? I'll do it.
I mean, we were all thinking that.
Yeah, I'll do it. But yeah, I think obviously this episode though, with its lows, it does have some very high highs as well. And not all of them are.
I mean, just while we were talking about the lows, I also have to take you to task on that final Rose scene because there is no way you can describe that as silly.
I think it's dumb. I think I do, and trust me, I'll tell you why. I don't like how it's written. I'm sorry. We're gonna have a fight here, John, and I'm gonna do what. I'll say how I think, and you can tell me how I'm wrong.
What is your issue with how it's written?
I hate how the characters all go, "Oh, when you first met me, I was a broken man," and then the Doctor starts talking about it, and then Donna's like, "No, Doctor, you're not telling her the fun bit. Tell her that you can shag." And then you get this really weird bit where the original version goes, "What did you say on the beach, Doctor?" And the original Doctor goes, "Rose Tyler," and the other one whispers something in her ear, and they make out, and suddenly she has no issue with it anymore. And also, I just think it's stupid. I think it's a consolation prize. I think it's really dumb. I'm sorry. I think Rose and Ten's a bad storyline anyway, but how it ends, I think, is really bad.
I don't necessarily like the Rose and Ten relationship, but I don't think we can describe that as a consolation prize. The whole issue with any Doctor being in a relationship with a human is that the human will age and the Doctor will not.
Yep.
So, the Doctor often,
so the Doctor effectively giving Rose a version of himself that will age alongside her. You cannot describe that as a consolation prize.
I feel like it is.
And the fact that he knows what he said to her or what he was going to say to her on Bad Wolf Bay in Doomsday shows that it is the same person.
It's just the way everyone has to get a sentence in beforehand. Oh, but Doctor, you've not told it the best part. It's a shipper's dream. They can finally be together. It's like, no,
Yeah,
I think
as
I,
it
I
should
don't,
be.
I don't, I don't, I'm
As
not,
it should
I'm
be.
not, I'm not for it. It comes back to though, I don't know whether I would accept a carbon copy. Not that I'm saying I'm going to, be in a relationship with the timeline anytime soon because they don't exist.
So
But
what you're saying is that if somebody offered you a carbon copy of Karen Gillan,
no, I
you'd be
wouldn't.
like, no,
No,
no, no, love, sorry.
no, I would be like,
Yeah,
no.
all right.
I know, seriously,
I'm sorry,
it's weird. Do you not?
sorry, love, I can't, I've got an eye infection.
Do you not think any part of it is a bit weird though? Like if there was like, here's a copy of that person that you quite like.
I mean, to be honest,
Well,
I think
I don't think
if
it's,
John got offered a
I
carbon
don't,
copy of Billy
oh,
Piper, I
oh,
don't think John would refuse.
I don't, see, the thing is, but this is the thing, I don't think it's weird. Because you say,
I
oh, it's a carbon copy of that person, you're like, bear in mind, they're literally just about to shut off all the universes. She's never going to see the Doctor again. So it's not like 10 is going to be flying around there and she's going to bump into him at any point. She's
Mm.
never going to see him again. This is all she's going to get.
that would be quite funny though. Just in Tesco's, roast in the weekly shop. Oh, hello, mate. Um, but no, I think it's weird. What also they drop them off? I know it's the whole Babel Bay thing, and it's symbolic, but I also love the fact that like it's just weird that they drop them off in Norway and they can just drop them home. Bit weird that I get it's some symbolism and stuff, so I'll let that slide. But yeah, I
From a storytelling perspective, it makes absolute sense.
yeah, but like I
There's
said,
nothing wrong with doing a callback.
the highs are very high for this though. Like the is it the Song of Freedom? It's called when they're bringing Earth home is a great scene.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's one of the best pieces
Um,
of music that Murray's come up with.
brilliant piece of music.
yeah. And I know people have a weird issue with like Martha looking into the camera, but my thought was that was always meant to be the Doctor's eyes that she's looking into as he looks around at his team, and it's not just Freema randomly giggling into the camera. And do you know what? Even if it is, let her off. Like it's funny, isn't it? It's a pretty fun scene. I think it's every Doctor Who fan and actor's dream is to have fly the TARDIS for a bit. Why
That's a
not?
thought. When was the last time before that someone in Doctor Who looked literally at the lens? So all I can think of at the moment is probably
Hartnell?
Colin Baker's first entrance, where he's like, and it seems not a moment too soon. Blink.
I'm sure. No, I'm sure. There's one in Human Nature.
Yeah, there's a few examples. There's a few examples out there. There's Colin doing Not a Moment Too Soon. There's Peter at the end of the Five Doctors where he goes after all. That's how it all started.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got Tennant in
Yeah,
Human Nature.
obviously there's Hartnell in Feast of Stephen.
Tennant again, Human Nature. Because I swear there's just a shot where there's fire behind him. He just looks straight in the lens. But yeah, there's a few. But like people say it breaks the fourth wall. I don't think it does. Then you get the most heartbreaking scene in all of the Tennant era. Potentially the saddest companion exit. Probably actually is. I don't know. I said potentially. It just factually is. I suppose it kind of is, but we know it's a resolution. So will it still be by the time the end of the year's out? Who knows?
I mean,
Exactly.
I saw a tweet. Well, I can't remember if it was today or yesterday from your friend and mine, Tharies, where he turned around and he went, "Hang on a minute, guys. What if Donna does actually die in the 60th?"
I don't think it's that wild.
Not.
I don't.
It's like, wow.
To be fair, though, I kind of also want to know what she's done with that lotto money. But that's besides the point. Yeah.
I would imagine she's probably done a Del Trotter with it and wasted it and lost it, flitted it away.
Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? But who knows?
No, it is a heartbreaking ending, and I mean, Wilf and Sylvia are both, Bernard and Jacqueline are both absolutely on fire in that scene at the end.
Yeah. You have to. I was thinking props to it's like I said that like it's a rare thing. I'm thinking props to David Tennant on this because he's fantastic in like the last 25 minutes. especially when you know it's coming.
Across both episodes, it's one of his best performances. I've said time and time again that I think that this should have been the end for 10. I prefer it to the end of time so much.
Massively. It's
massively better than the end of time. It's just
oh mate, you didn't even need to you didn't even need to build up to that. You can see at 20, even as soon as it happens, the doctor, there's a lot of shots of the doctor not happily reacting to this moment, and it slowly builds of when she goes, "Oh, it's brilliant! I've got your brain inside. I've got your brain inside mine. It's perfect." And he goes, "But how does it feel?" And then she slowly just breaks down. You get the whole Charlie Chaplin, the binary, and you just slowly realize, oh God. And then it's like a companion death that obviously she doesn't die, but
it's genuinely heartbreaking. Genuinely heartbreaking.
Because throughout the whole thing, Dalek Khan was always saying that one will still die.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh well, who's it gonna be? And then when it turned out to be that technically, it was Donna's mind. It was fucking heartbreaking, and being my favorite companion, was I was just at the time trying so hard to sort of fight back the tears. I just didn't want her to go. I thought she was just absolutely fantastic, and she'd done the most important thing of saving the universe.
Yeah, and they kind of do a Rose. They don't do a Rose fake out, but they do the whole "and the most faithful companion will die," and you think it's Rose because obviously everyone at that point thinks it's Rose, and
I
then
never
it's
thought
not.
it was Rose.
No, but when you watch it the first time, when you think most faithful, the writing I think is leaning you towards Rose or Sarah Jane, really, isn't it?
I wouldn't have said that.
No,
I wouldn't have said that.
I've always
of all of the companions that you see. Which is the one that spent a year traveling around the world telling them about the Doctor?
Martha.
That was my thought when I first watched it 15 years ago.
That's really interesting that we've all had different thoughts on that. That's
that's why it was written that way. It's not, you might think it's obvious because that's the conclusion you jump to, but it's really not.
Yeah, imagine it was just Jackie. Not that I want Jackie to die either, but imagine just.
It could have been Canine. As a faithful dog.
I think RCD knows that he wouldn't be able to come back for the fact he killed K9. I think he knows.
Yeah, but that's why the wording. People would go, "Oh well, faithful companion means a dog." Oh shit,
Yeah, but especially when he did.
There's so many ways you can. I mean, let's face it. Nobody was thinking it was Mickey, were they?
No.
I mean, you couldn't really call Jackie a faithful companion because most of the time she was just sort of dragged along for the ride by accident.
And also she had this weird.
But she's not necessarily a faithful companion to the Doctor because she waited for Pete, so she could be a faithful companion to Pete.
I mean, yeah.
You see,
really got a mention.
You can literally make an argument for anyone.
Yeah,
except Mickey. He's a twat.
Also, Jackie's a badass in this because she's pregnant. She's still kicking ass. Or she was pregnant.
Oh no, hang on, no. Pete's
new mother. She's a new mother. She's a new mother. Sorry, I got it mixed up.
That's the baby. Little Tony.
I love how she goes. I was pregnant. Remember? What are we supposed to?
We're calling Doctor. Really? No, you plump.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, since when was she pregnant? What?
Yeah, no, she does.
She was pregnant at the end of Doomsday.
She does say, "Do you remember I was pregnant?"
Yeah, she was pregnant because don't you remember in the final scene of Doomsday?
Yeah.
Where Rose is turning around and goes, "Oh yeah, this little one on the way," and the Doctor's like, "What?" She's like, "No, it's Mum." And then in this, she turns around, she goes, "Oh yeah, I had a little one, Tony."
Is there a time jump between the end of Doomsday and that scene?
Sorry, mate.
I'm gonna have to do a rewatch.
Is there a time jump from the actual the stuff in the Torchwood building, Canary Wharf, and that last scene then, or did her and Pete just get straight to it?
No, it must be. Otherwise, that ain't Pete's fucking kid, is it?
Because that's where my brain went to. I was like, they were very quick.
What was the name the geezer that lent her the truck in 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 um Parting of the Ways.
Turns out Harry Elton got a bit.
It
Turns out
kind
Harry
of
Elton
makes-
got a bit busy before we thought.
Yeah. Could be Elton's kid. No,
I suppose kind of
no. There must be. There must be a time jump
yeah.
between.
Because there must be something like a few months or something like that. Because
Yeah,
now I
there could be a
recall back,
couple.
because
Could be 2 or 3
the way
months.
that Rose tells it at the time is that she's now sort of like started this life on parallel Earth,
Yeah.
where
Yep.
she keeps dreaming of the Doctor, and and then suddenly this particular time she starts hearing the Doctor calling, tells everyone saying, I dreamt this and I can hear this calling. So basically, let's go follow it, see if we
Yeah,
can find where it's coming from. And
yeah.
then
It's
they'll put
probably
Dargle Strandon.
yeah. It's probably a
Um,
few months. It's probably a few months. Enough time for Pete and Jackie to become reacquainted, and
Mm,
for Jackie to become with child.
yes.
But they reference that in that scene at Dalek Strandon in Doomsday, and then Jackie mentions it again in this, that she's had a little kid and his name's Tony.
Yeah.
big up to Tony. But yeah, I mean, ending that. I mean, you said fair play to Bernard and Jacqueline. They're fantastic. But again, it's just I'm so happy as well. I don't know
She's
if
my
you
daughter, or maybe you should tell her
tell
that.
her that. Yeah, it's good,
And
isn't
it's
it?
just,
And even though it's the you got props to Catherine Tate as well, because the way she changes her acting only slightly, because she
yeah,
doesn't put a voice on.
literally. What am I like? What have I done? Yeah,
Yeah.
literally
Mm.
goes back to being Donna.
Um.
That's what makes it the most heartbreaking thing at all. That actually you see her
Yeah.
go back to being Donna, and that she doesn't even notice the Doctor. She's like, "All right, see ya."
Yeah. But yeah, I'm so happy they changed the ending as well. I don't know if you guys have seen the original ending that they
The only thing
cut.
she lies about is calories.
Yeah. Fair enough. We all know that person. But it's what do you remember the original ending that they had for this, which would have cut from the drama? Do you guys remember this, or do you want me to remind you?
Oh,
Um,
was it the bit where the Doctor gives Rose a piece of the
No, well,
TARDIS floor, I
that
believe.
isn't an end, but that is a hint. No, the original ending of this was going to have Cybermen pop up in the TARDIS, similar to the Titanic thing coming through the TARDIS ship,
Oh
and it
yeah.
was going to have Cybermen pop up behind him, sort of in a weird, like not cringy, but a bit of a funny goof to end the season on. And obviously, they don't opt to do that
yeah.
here. They just
Yeah, I don't blame them because that seems a bit weird that.
Well, I mean, that was
um
that was like the thing that they were going for at that point, wasn't they? Because they did it. They did it with Catherine in at the end of series 2. Then they did it with the Titanic at the end of
Titanic.
series 3. So yeah, I'm pleased they didn't.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, boys. I think it's time for scores on the doors. I don't, I think we've kind of covered most of our, plot here. Two-parters have been a thing for a while. I'll go first as well. I'm going to give it 8 out of 10. Still, I think as a two-parter, it really holds up. There are a few things I get annoyed at, but overall, it's a really enjoyable watch. I still don't like the fact she just switches things. I think it's not the best ending, and there is a bit of 5 minutes where I'm sat there going, "Oh no." But the acting stellar. It does live up to the hype. All the characters interacting is really fun. The music's great. Everyone's on top form, and at the end, it does bring that emotion. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for me. I think it's near perfect.
I think they literally threw everything into it, and it totally works. And it's probably just a really enjoyable two-part finale. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's ridiculously good. What would you
Yeah.
give out of 10 though, Owen? It's your favorite, so I can feel.
For me, it's a 10 out of 10 always.
And John, what about you?
Got to be a 10.
I'm gonna go 10. Okay. So I think that's averages out to like a 9.2 or something. If you want to
9.33.
9.0.
It's very precise.
Well, it's 9 and a third.
I suppose. What would it what would it be if I gave
It's
it?
28. It's 28. It's 28 points in total divided by 3. It's 9 and a third.
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, yeah, that's correct. I was trying to think what
Change
it
it
would
to pretty
be.
base, you know,
No, I was just trying to. So then, if I gave it a 9, it would be 9 and 2/3.
9 and
Yeah.
2/3.
Yeah.
You see, you're getting how this works now, aren't you?
Yeah. Right, I'm going to try and share screen this. All right. I don't know if it'll work very well for that, and if not, then you guys can see it. So when you load this website up, it does give you an episode straight away, which we won't be doing. That's not. It hasn't been randomed yet.
Oh, we've already done that one.
We've already done that one anyway. Yeah, that's the new thing. So I'm going to show you the settings quickly. I've put it on
We've
classic
already
mode
done that.
only.
I'm going there again.
We've done. I put it on classic mode only, so we might get the movie involved here, but all the doctors are in play. So it could be 1 to 8. So I'm going to click it now. I'm going to find out what it is. Seeds of Death
Oh,
is
yes.
our next review.
Oh,
Which
yes.
Patrick Troughton, right?
Yeah.
I've seen that one. I've not
Oh,
seen
hang
Seeds
on.
of
I was
Doom
getting
though.
that confused. I was getting that confused with Seeds of Doom.
I mean,
I mean,
Seeds of Death.
Seeds of Death still excellent.
So next month, join us for some Ice Warriors.
I definitely have to rewatch.
In the middle of August, when it's bound to be very hot, we're going to have Ice Warriors and a icy weather machine.
Yes. Owen, if you don't remember this one, try to watch it if you can. I'll
I
remind you.
will definitely have to rewatch it, definitely, because
I'll remind you like a week
even
and a
though
half
I've seen
before,
it
so it
once
gives
or
you more time.
twice, it's still a bit hazy for me, so it will have to be fresh in mind when I watch it.
I'll remind you like a week and a half before we film next time, so you have more time to plan out your week. And
Yeah. One of the only examples, I think there's only 2 or 3. One of the only examples of a story that features an actor who also appeared in Prisoner Cell Block H.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what Prisoner Cell Block H is. And on that note,
Alex,
you can follow Owen at Dr. Disco 63. As I've just killed him. You can also go check out the Who Shop as well. They're great. Go see them. And you can follow John at JohnBoy_Cook on Twitter. If this is updated now and that new Instagram social media is taken
on Twitter and Instagram, and probably from tomorrow or from last week, depending on when this is released, on Threads.
We don't know what Threads is going to be like, but we've heard good things.
But yeah, I mean, I've already gone very public. If anybody steals my Twitter name on Threads, I will be killing that cunt.
I think it's linked to your Insta name. I think it does
There we
look.
go.
Yes,
There's the cunt dropped in.
It can be, yes. So I should theoretically have exactly the same name on Threads.
Yes, Owen doesn't know what Threads is because he's not in our chat.
No.
Threads is
so Threads. You know how Twitter basically broke last weekend.
and
yes,
rate limits.
So Threads is basically Facebook's answer to Twitter.
The metaverse
being released tomorrow on July the 6th, or last week on July the 6th.
I think I heard something about this on the radio, and they said it was basically a spin-off from Instagram.
Yes, well, Facebook and Instagram are owned by the same people.
Well,
so
the metaverse.
This is now the third one.
Yes,
right.
So I've already pre-purchased the app. Well, it's a free app, obviously, but I've already pre-purchased the app, so it will hit my phone tomorrow, and I'll be up and running on Threads. I want to be.
Should have a look.
I doubt I will be, but I want to be the first person to post the word cunt on Threads.
To be fair, that's a reference to there's a motorbike going on outside. But this is an episode where I think they kind of also do almost say the word cunt, because I hear David Hogan going, Davros, you can't, as a cunt more than a can't, because of how he says it.
There's a third Doctor one where Joe says, Doctor, you can't.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the story is, but there's definitely one where she says you can't.
Yeah. And by the way, guys, if you go on Threads, I'll put a picture of me.
I remember recording it and posting it into the chat saying, Katie Manning's got a message for you, Alex.
Oh, yes.
Well, we'll get along to that. But yes, guys, for more Doctor Who content, Say to Death next month. And they will be back rolling monthly now. We are back on it. It's just uni's finished and I have all the time in the world. So daily content on the YouTube channel as well. So if you're an audio listener, you want more content, me and John did a Doctor Who video this past week. I might be getting some of the other guys on for just the one-off 20-minute videos as well. So yeah, get excited. And yeah, we'll see you guys soon. Take care. Goodbye.
Don't have nightmares. Do sleep well. Good night. God bless. You used to give me roses. I wish you could again. But that was on the outside. And things were different then.